Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Robins Report podcast. You join us live on Twitter. We've already got, well, we're ever rising. We're going up to 34, 36. I'm not going to keep counting, but good to have so many with you with us already. I think we kept you waiting for a little while. We said at 8 p.m. and then we're on to an 8:30. So
all good things come to those who wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Emergency pod.
You've got to put up with me, Mark and Owen.
Yeah, you have got to put
Sorry
up
about
with
that, everybody.
I'm sure everyone's been moaning all day and spent most of the day with their head in their hands. We share your pain, and tonight we're going to discuss probably all the feelings we've been through. I think some of them are just pure shock, and well, some of them I can't actually air the words I'm going to say, but you know, we'll discuss bit by bit, and in good time. Mr. Bloxham must have known we were doing a live pod because about 5 minutes before we're due to go live, he puts out a statement. So thanks for that. So we need to get into it, don't we? So tonight we're going to discuss Darrell Clarke's departure as he has departed for Barnsley. We've also got the rumour mill in full flow of a new director of football. Spoiler alert, it's Gary Johnson. And we'll discuss the statement from David Bloxham, the video statement, really. We'll discuss that in detail, as well as other news, appointments of a commercial director, departures confirmed of some players, and obviously some who still haven't signed. And we're just kind of doing a little bit of an overlook now to what's going to be another summer of upheaval and disruption. But, you know, we're in May, so a couple of months to go. Mate, at least it's not right in the middle of pre-season. So let's kick it off then. Gents, we knew it was happening, didn't we? We knew it was going to come at some point. I mean, he was always going to leave at one point in the time, but we did really, the writing felt on the wall, I would probably have said from Forum, about uncertainty about whether Darrell Clarke really saw his future here. And again, it's been really interesting because it's been quite mixed responses to him leaving. You know, some people think, he's not up for it, but others, I mean, for me, it's similar situation to Michael Duff. He's gone to the same club. He's gone to Barnsley. He took an upward step. You know, he did a really good job coming in, and he's left for a better role at a League One club in a division above now. So yeah, Mark, let's have your initial reaction.
Disappointing, but like you say, Owen, not really surprising because from the Forum, you know, when he sort of and when I spoke to him after the game at Stevenage, his comment then was sort of like, I need to sit down with people. We need to see where we're going, how we're going to go forward and all this. And at that point, you sort of think, okay, but he had a year on his contract. So I never thought he would just walk, personally. I never thought he would just say, right, I'm out of here. You lot are a bunch of you-know-whats. I'm out of here. I'm not working with you lot anymore. I always thought if he went, he would go to a club. If there wasn't a club that came for him this summer, then I think we were probably looking at October and November, you know, when sacking season comes around, and there'd have been a few clubs looking for managers then. It could have happened then. So I do feel it was only a matter of time. The chairman in his statement just then sort of seemed to be of the feeling that he thought he was going to go somewhere. So, you know, I don't think he was ever going to sign a new contract, really. And as you say, Owen, he's gone to a League One club. So it's the usual situation that we get. That, you know, if you're offered more money and a better deal somewhere else in another job, you're going to go and take it, and that's the way it is. And so I do feel there's been a little bit of revision of history going on already. You always get that sort of thing, don't you, at this sort of stage? You know, people going, "Oh, I don't think he did that great a job anyway. Oh, I didn't think he was." But whatever, you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? You always seem to get that at, with this sort of situation. It's like players as well. You know, when players leave, you get, he wasn't that good anyway. We're not going to miss him. You know, he's only our top goal scorer. We won't miss him though. You know, it's all right. So you get that. So the annoying thing is that it means more upheaval. The annoying thing is, okay, he's decided what players were going to leave, what players we weren't going to offer contracts to, what players we were going to offer contracts to. But I don't think anybody's really turning around and saying, nobody's really turning around and saying, we should have kept him, shouldn't we? So it seems like he got most of the decisions as most of us would have put them. But how does that affect? How does all this affect recruiting players? How does all this, are we down the road with recruiting players and we've got to start all over again? Or are we down the road with recruiting players and whoever comes in now is going to say, I don't want that one, or that one. Let's try and get that one, that one. That. Again, like you said, it's another summer of nonsense. And that's 3 in a row now that we've had. We've had 3 of these summers now where, it's all basically gone to pot within about a month of the season finishing. And again, we're stuck behind the 8 ball, probably catching up with teams who have got a bit of stability and are able to do exactly what they want this summer without any nonsense going on behind the scenes.
So I'm going to come to you. Mark mentions that kind of. There's obviously going to be a bit of apathy. There's going to be that disappointment for him departing, of course, and people are going to react to it in different ways. Just got us relegated, and now he's moving on at the first jump. I mean, judging by the statement, it wasn't the first jump. He'd had offers from League Two clubs, from David Bloxham's interview earlier, and of course there would have been League One suitors going in for him. I think if we look back, probably we were really lucky at the time when we did sign Darryl Clark that the market, there wasn't actually many clubs looking for a manager. And, I remember after we signed Darryl Clark, then some clubs started sacking their managers. I was thinking, well, I'm glad we appointed Darryl when we did.
We were actually ahead of the game on that one.
Yeah, I know. Just through pure luck when we sacked Wade. But, I was about to go to Si, but I think he's... 2 minutes. I'll come back to you, Si. Lucky there, Mark, then, weren't we, in that case? But... it is a difficult one because, as you said, we're completely back to square one. And we don't know, especially from that interview, we know there's director of football coming, but we don't know if we've started the wheels in motion for a new manager to come in either, have we?
I mean, what happens with Ian Barraclough? What happens with him? Because we understand he was only here till the end of the season. So is he still here? Is he gone? What's happening with him? What's happening with Ashley Vincent? Does he stay as part of whatever goes on? So there's so many unanswered questions, and it just. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what the chairman put out there has given me more questions than answers, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, Si, you're back. Your initial thoughts, initial reaction.
I don't think it's rewriting history to suggest that Darryl failed in what he was brought in to do. He himself said if he doesn't keep us up, then he's failed. He told us so, and you and I, he told us, didn't he? So I don't think that's rewriting history. There seemed to be this opinion. There seemed to be this growing opinion that he could do no wrong, and I do genuinely believe there became this thing where he was the oracle, and whatever he said was bang on. And I'm not convinced that was necessarily the case. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want him to leave. I'm gutted he has gone because I think we'd have been much better next season with him with that bit of stability, and his record in League Two speaks for itself. But am I disappointed to the extent where I think we've gone from hopefully going for the playoffs to suddenly relegation fodder? No, I'm not convinced by that, to be honest. I'm really not. It'll be nice to listen to someone not slagging off the club. And there are issues. There are clearly issues at the club at the moment, like huge ones. And I am not the board's biggest fan at the moment, as told from my social media presence and like Facebook, Twitter, the Robin's Nest, all over it. I've been slating the board this week, but it does sound like they've done all they can to try and keep hold of him, and he was never going to turn down Barnsley. Once Barnsley came calling, we were never keeping it. It didn't matter what we offered him, we were never keeping him. So we just got to move on. The club keeps moving forward, and that's all we can do.
I mean, there's been people saying about how we never had a good word to say for the club. But okay, yeah, he did criticise a lot of things, and he did mention a lot of things. But I see that as somebody who wanted to improve standards, somebody who wanted the club to be better, somebody who wanted, I don't think he was asking for the earth, just to be able to have a training pitch that he could train our football team on, a decent training pitch. I know a lot of it was down to the weather as well, but even so, we own the training ground, but we can't provide a decent pitch there for him to train his players on. So he has to go and down the road to Bishop's Cleeve and use their 4G. Or, when he came in, he said, seasons needs a lick of paint. Has it ever had that lick of paint? Has anybody, has it had that lick of paint? I'm not sure it actually has. So I think, a lot of Cheltenham supporters want the club to be better. Because we say, this isn't good enough, or the queues in the Colin Farmer aren't good enough, the toilets aren't good enough, this isn't good enough, the seats have got pigeon poo all over them, that's not good enough, the roof leaks in whatever it is, that's not good enough. So there's loads of things that people come up with and say, we want our football club to get better. Our football club needs to get better at this. And we all say, on the field, we're fine. Off the field, we're a non-league club. We need to get better. Darryl Clark wanted our football club to get better. So in a way, Darryl Clark was the same as all of us, because he just wanted our football club to get better in a lots of ways. So when he did mention the training pitches a lot because he wanted it to be better.
But if he wants it to get better, doesn't it say something that he's gone at the first real opportunity? Because
he's not going to turn that.
He's not really giving the board the chance to make things better. He's gone. Well, they have
they've had the time that he's been here, and they had this summer to try and make things better.
And I think a lot of this stems from the fans forum, doesn't it? Because I think for me that is a clear and a key moment in the timeline of Darryl Clark leaving this football club.
Mm-hmm.
I like to the fact that Darryl Clark, he literally set his stall out at the start. I can't remember who said it. I don't think it was you, Mark. Actually, you said something else about the stadium, but somebody said, "Are you going to be here next season?" And David Bloxham took over, and he said, "We're doing everything we can to persuade him to stay, even though we've already mentioned he was on a contract. He was under contract,
and then he came back to it, didn't he? And said he didn't.
And he did. Yeah, he said, I'm not dodging your question. I'm not going to dodge your question. I need to see a plan." And then, as we've mentioned, as we've gone into, the whole night was talking about how we don't need a plan. But then the statement comes out today. Again, mixed messages. Of course we've got a plan. We've always had a plan.
Then tell us what it is.
Tell us what the plan is, and that's the big problem.
No, that is the problem, isn't it? That is the whole crux of the matter. Everybody's going, "Oh, you haven't got a plan." "Oh no, you haven't got it written down." Well, tell us what this plan is. That's all the supporters are asking for, isn't it? Really, just tell us what the plan is.
That's what I said after the pod on the pod we recorded after the forum. I can't believe we'd never had a plan, but for some reason they just don't want to. They just don't want to tell us what it is. It's a very, very strange setup in that sense. But then, as a football club, we have a very strange setup, don't we? We're one of the very few without a CEO, for example. So, like I said, the more I've thought about today, when I saw it this morning, it was instant, like just that gutted feeling in your stomach. But the more I thought about it, as the day's gone on, the more I've just accepted it and been more like, do you know what? Maybe it's not the end of the world. You know, I don't
I think
think it is.
that's you, isn't it, Si? I pray for the day you have a meltdown
Yeah.
because I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to
I
see
had,
this.
I had one over the board. I had one over the board earlier this week. But no, seriously, the more I think about it,
I mean, we can't do anything about it now. Like, I mean, I get that mentality. We can't because we're dealt with what we've got. But yeah,
and it doesn't, and also it doesn't seem like it. And also, it doesn't seem like it could have been prevented. Let's face it.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. But I look at it, and the last 6-7 weeks of the season, let's be honest, we were dreadful. And I'm not saying that's solely down to Daryl. Of course, it's not. We had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of struggles, but he got us playing a really great style of football midway through the season. We were playoff form at one point, I believe. Really, really well. And then we had the transfer window. It wasn't great. And the last couple of months, it was poor. It really was. We had a good result against Peterborough, but they put their kids out. A great result against Burton in the long run. But when it really mattered, other than a Burton game, Fleetwood as well, arguably, we just did not turn up in the last few games, in the last few weeks of the season. And
you put yourself onto mute, Si. That's impressive. I don't know how you put yourself onto mute, but
Twitter's had enough of him.
Yeah, they banned him. Tom, I'm going to come to you instead and get your initial reactions on. We have spoken a bit, and you feel free to carry on Si's point. But for me, and what I want to speak about is we're going into a third summer now on the trot of upheaval, and again, some of it, Michael Duff leaving, we couldn't stop. Again, he went with our well wishes. This one, Daryl Clark, again, as I mentioned, it feels like we were pretty powerless to it. No matter how much we offered, it wasn't going to be enough. So how are you feeling about that? Another summer of upheaval to come?
Football, bloody hell. Honestly, I feel like a bit of an idiot. I said a few weeks ago, didn't I? I'm more convinced than ever he's going to stay. And yeah, just shows how much I know, doesn't it? But no, look, I'm the same as you boys. The group chat this afternoon was just off the hook. It was one extreme to the other. Daryl, he's off. They were like, oh God, he's walking away. Why is he walking away now? And then you get context, and that's what it is. Context, everything in this. He's not walked away. He's had a better offer. It happened with Michael Duff. I said it in the chat. We're used to this. We're Cheltenham Town fans. We should be used to this. This is normal. This happens. Not that I expected it this time around, so I was a bit like, bloody hell. But no, I'm gutted, mate, to be honest, because I thought he was building something, and I thought we were, HMS Piss League 2. But look, it's like anything in life, isn't it? Like our day-to-days, you get a better offer, you're going to take it, and there's nothing that employer can do to keep hold of you. But it is what it is. It's not about what's happened. It's what we do now, and I will always be the same. I don't care. He's gone. Fine, whatever. We do it with players. Hold that same energy. You don't want to be here. You want to go somewhere else. Go. But it's what we do now, and that's all that matters. And yeah, still in a bit of a head blown moment, but I'm sure we'll get to the rest of it later. But oh, what a day! It's Thursday. It's not even the end of May. Do you know what I mean? It's not even the end of May, and it's like, wow, bloody hell.
I'm part of that. I don't know whether we can look at it as a positive, because most of the time, as I've mentioned in the last 3 summers, it does feel like it's happened right on the eve of pre-season and the players coming back and fitness like that. And also with Clark, he was building something, but he hadn't built something we could really look back on. And, we have mentioned, of course, we were relegated. And, some people will blame that on Daryl Clark. Some people will blame it on other things, which we've discussed in great detail. I guess the one thing is, and I guess for some, and especially me, I think we can probably move on from it quite quickly, because yes, we know
well,
how
he
good
did. He has. It took him a week, apparently. Jesus Christ! Oh, you ripped my club from day one. You ripped my club to pieces. Then you walk away and then drop that nuke, and it's like Mark when he dropped that thing on Facebook. You just like threw the firecracker and run away. Yeah, cheers for that, Daz. Lovely. But no, I get what you're saying, and I do. Yeah. But again, same flip, just to touch on it. I think legacy-wise, he'll be known as the man that gave us hope, but ultimately, it didn't come to anything.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. How'd you see it, Mark?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Tom, you're right in saying that the most important thing is what happens now, because this to me is a very important appointment. What happens now, and it's got to be the right one. Got to get it right, because I just feel we're in quite a precarious position as a club, as a football club, overall, because what was it? We lost £500,000 last year. David Bloxham at the forum said we'd lose another £500,000, but that's been tempered a little bit by the sale of Will Goodwin to Oxford, even if he didn't play enough to get us a promotion clause. Thanks very much. But there we go. Typical. That is just typical.
Happy Thursday, everybody. As if it couldn't get bad enough. Thanks for reminding us of that.
Yes, typical.
As if Thursday's not been bad. Cheers, Mark.
The best 400 grand we've ever received. That could.
Really yeah. Well, yes. It was a fantastic. It was a fantastic deal. Let's face it. But so overall, without that deal, though, in the last 2 years, we'd be losing £1 million. So that leaves our football club in quite a precarious position. And we don't have the safety net anymore, whereby a relegation would still mean we're a Football League club. We don't have that anymore. So we've just got to be a little bit careful. And we can't afford another Paul Buckle scenario. We just can't. We just can't afford that. So this has got to work. If this is what they're going to do, what the rumours say, if this is what they're going to do, it's got to work. Or we all know what will be coming. We'd be all off to Eastleigh and Dorking Wanderers. So I know they got relegated, didn't they? But yeah, so we've just got to be a little bit careful, and fingers crossed that it will work. So this is very, very important. What happens in the next sort of week to 10 days?
I think that is a good point to make, Mark. And sorry, I come to you with that in terms of my optimism going into the season. I wasn't delusional enough to think, we're going to be straight back into the promotion race. We want to go back up to League. We're going to go straight back up to League One, because I think that's churlish to think that, given our budget and given up the hill Forest Green going down in successive seasons. But I felt a lot more optimistic with Darryl Clark at the helm because of what he was starting to build, players he had who he trusted. He was getting those players in, Matty Taylor, Tom Pett, Kinsella, and it's now a complete uncertainty, isn't it? We've of course it's only happened today, hasn't it? But
I felt that with Darryl in charge, and the nucleus of players that we had, which we could then add to, we would be in a decent position. I know we've still got those players.
I think the concern for me is...
But go on,
sorry, I think the concern for me is the stability. Oh, fuck's sake.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not
live Robin's report.
Welcome to Si's technical optical nightmares.
Go on, Tom. You carry on. Let Si get himself sorted out, and we'll come back to him.
No, I'm sure he'll be all right. Go on.
Oh, go on then, Si.
He's on mute now. Anyway, no. So I carry on. Just say something else. Otherwise we're going to be in a wall of silence. As I say, we've still got that nucleus of players, but I felt that nucleus of players with Darryl Clark, because of his links to people like Pett, people like Taylor, people like Kinsella, players who he brought in, and I just felt that with that group, I know we've lost a lot of players. I know we've lost people like Sean Long. Looks like we're going to lose Will Ferry. We've lost a few others. We've lost Liam Sercombe, and players like that. But I do feel that we could have, we could have grown with Darryl Clark, and also, he has experience of getting teams out of League Two, and I felt that with him in charge and that nucleus of players, we could have had a chance of being somewhere near the top 10, top 7. But I'm a little bit more negative about it all now, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I hate to be like that, but I am. And because we know our budget's not going to be, lower half of League Two, possibly the bottom 8 of League Two. We know that. So that's not going to come as a surprise to anybody. I don't think it would have come as a surprise to Darryl. I'm fairly sure he already knew that. He knew that when he came in. And to be honest, I don't think he moaned a lot about the budget when he was here. He didn't say, "Oh, I want a bigger budget. Oh, I need more money. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that."
He never mentioned it, did he? It was more fundamental things.
No, it was more the fabric of the club and more the sort of. But I'm willing to be still corrected if he ever did, but I don't remember it. And I spoke to him a hell of a lot, and I listened to practically every interview he ever did, and I don't think he ever said, "Oh, the budget's too small."
I don't think he criticised.
What he said quite a lot was, "I knew that when I came in. I knew what I know what I've got to work with." So so I don't think it can be levelled at him that he was always moaning about the budget, because I don't think he ever did. But anyway, that's another point. So our budget in League Two will be bottom half, possibly bottom 8. So, it's got to be spent wisely, and we need somebody to come in and see what they can do with it. Sorry, you're back. Come on then.
I am. Can you hear me now, boys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
There we go. Right. I've completely forgotten what my whole point was going to be. No. No. The biggest concern for me was the stability factor. With Darryl going, if Darryl stays, for once we have that bit of stability and going into the new season, so you are more confident when you have that stable background. Him going, it just creates what we've had last season and the season before that, which is upheaval. We all said we needed a proper rebuild anyway. So just that have gone, you almost don't mind because we're doing a rebuild anyway. But by losing Darryl, you're losing the backbone of what he'd already started to bring in. Even just the culture of what he was bringing in. And we've all seen the rumours of who the director of football is going to be. And you look at that and you go, has a bloke ever left under a bigger cloud, after being successful? And I struggle. I really struggle with that. So I'm not overly concerned about our league position next season. I'm more concerned that we're going to be less likely to be pushing for the playoffs.
Mm.
I have been requested to cheer us up, so we have got a plan. There's a plan here, and
there's a plan. There always was a plan.
Get in.
We have got a director of football coming back, and in David Bloxham's statement, it was said that director of football was always going to be coming in, even when Darryl Clark was here, and Darryl Clark endorsed the appointment of a director of football. I don't think it would have been his idea, but we know previously, and in our previous campaign of being successful in League Two and in our most successful period, we had a director of football, previously had a recruitment to move into a director of football. And that's I sensed was when we looked most organised as a club on and off the field. Now, we know when we go and interview for appointments, head recruitment being case in point in the summer, I don't think the calibre of candidates was very good. And that's probably is a case of our wage structure and what we can offer. So we, in the end, appointed from within and appointed Russell Milton. Now, I know that led to many different things and what we could get. I was always looking forward to a potential of a new director of football following Mickey Moore and what that could entail. And director of football is quite it's quite a popular post at the moment. I think a lot of people within football, maybe people who can't get managerial jobs anymore, look to go to that a bit more of a over the top approach bird's eye view and keeping an eye on everything in the background whilst not being in the dugout and having that focus. However, I think there were candidates applying. I don't think anybody saw, just it's not 2015 anymore, anybody. I don't think anybody saw the appointment of Gary Johnson as director of football coming in 2024. Now, I'm not gonna hound for previous, and we're not going to rewrite history. There is history there. There's good history and there's bad history from my point of view. But this is new. You build a bridge, you get over it, you write a new page. So I just don't know.
But in order to do that, Owen, but in order to do that, you have to first apologise for wrongdoings, and that's what's going to take, I think.
The thing that gets me with all this, Gary Johnson was sacked in 2017 in my view, the most brutal and, to not put a final point on it, cruel way possible by the Cheltenham Town Board, many of whom are still on the Cheltenham Town Board. Not all of them, but many of them are still on the Cheltenham Town Board. And if he comes back now, 7 years later, if this appointment is rubber stamped, if he now comes back 7 years later, I just find it remarkable. I really do. I just find it remarkable that somebody who was sacked and I was there that night, and I did a post-match interview with Gary Johnson 10 minutes before he was sacked, and he did not have a clue. And you think to yourself, what? Anyway, but that's by the by. It just okay. I get the thing we're going to have about a director of football. I understand that. Most football clubs have a director of football, and that's not a big issue to me, having a director of football. The fact that Darryl Clark said, yeah, it's a good idea, and then when told who the person possibly was going to be, said, yeah, that's endorsed it. I don't know. Perhaps he already knew he was going and he wouldn't have to work with him. But I don't know. Who knows? But you've got that situation. But yeah, it's well, if it is going, there's not many people with that experience, is there, of the game? Let's face it. He's not, as that comment there says, in terms of football experience, he's got it, and we're not going to get someone else with much more. You can't argue with that. Again, another question, as I said earlier, David Bloxham's statement left me with more questions than answers. And another question is, where is Russell Milton sitting in all this? He is the head of recruitment. Okay. A director of football, as Mickey Moore was, is also the head of, with just a fancy title and probably a bit more stuff to do. We are not going to have, as a football club, a director of football and a head of recruitment. So where does all this leave Russell Milton?
I'm not convinced on that.
Now okay.
Purely because when Mickey went to Shrewsbury, the lad he took with him, whose name escapes me, who was the analyst he took with him?
Tom Ware.
Tom Ware. He became head of recruitment at Shrewsbury under Mickey Moore as director of football.
They got more money than we got.
They have, but I'm not convinced Gary coming in means Russ loses his role. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I can see it. I can see him remaining in his role, or as a chief scout and anything else.
Okay, but it is a question, and Russ has come in for a lot of flack for his head of recruitment stuff, but that man has been a servant of Cheltenham Town Football Club for more than 25 years, and again, he deserves a bit more respect than if it is going to be the end for Russell at Cheltenham Town Football Club, he deserves some respect, and he deserves you know, some recognitions for that service that he's given to this football club in God knows how many roles. What's he been? Youth team coach, head of academy, assistant manager, caretaker manager, chief cook and bottle washer. Yeah, everything. So, he deserves a bit of respect, to be honest with you. And he was a blooming good player as well. And so I'm just throwing that out there. That if
my other thought, Mark, is that Gary Johnson comes in, director of football. Okay, we don't need a head of recruitment anymore. We do need a chief scout, which Russell Milton could go into. But obviously, we know Pete Johnson, his brother, is very often alongside Gary and could work as chief scout. So that's one thing. My other thought, and this could frustrate. This could be seen as a backward step. But we've already mentioned Ian Barraclough leaving. Could we see Russ step back down into assistant manager? No. Sorry.
He doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have a contract, does he?
Of course.
Sorry, everybody's been too busy to tell us anything, so we don't know. Apparently,
if we've got an assistant manager who is his contract is expiring, say, and we've got a gap to fill in a head coach and an assistant manager, could Russell Milton fall back into that role? I'm not saying it's what I want, but
I think it's more the fact of
where does that leave Ashley Vincent?
Would he go in there? Would he fall back into that role? It's where he's been now to where he's got to go back down. I don't know.
I don't see that.
I think if Russ doesn't stay in the job he's in now, I think he leaves.
Yeah.
But then, like you say, there's no reason why a director of football and a head of recruitment can't work together. And you say about money. You say about money, but you never know. You never know. But Big Gaz is drawing his pension already. He might just do it for free. You never know, do you? He might just
Gary Johnson do something for free.
I don't need the money, boys.
Now there's rewriting history.
I should have retired about 10 years ago, but I'll do it for nothing, just for you, because I was last time I was here. I'm just saying. Who knows?
Not seeing that one, Tom. But yeah,
I don't think Russ. I've said it many, 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 many times. Russ will be there long after we've all gone.
First club manager,
a bit like you, Sean.
First club president.
But,
he should be.
As I say, there's so many unanswered questions with it all, and of course, the next. I don't know. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead here, but
no, you crack on.
We've got to have a head coach, haven't we?
Of course.
So, and John Palmer wrote a piece earlier today when he mentioned about the director of football coming in. A director of football and a head coach will be announced in the next few days. So, is the head coach already sorted? So, is that already a fait accompli that somebody's going to come in as a head coach, or has this director of football elect had a say in this head coach? Has this head coach have we been recruiting for this head coach because we already knew that Darryl was going to go? Again, too many questions.
Yeah, you're
once
right.
Again, but everybody's been too busy to tell us any of this, apparently. Far too busy.
And I think the David Bloxham interview as well, like you say, Mark, it asked more questions. Well, because from his standpoint, unless he's holding his cards close to his chest like the plan, then it's just so contradicting. And us as fans and the people that are watching, the people that attend, we're no closer to a solution. So what's the story here? Is it in the coming days, or should that have been?
Well, as I say, while the club have been saying nothing, while the club have been saying nothing, it's left to us to fill the vacuum. It's left to supporters to fill the vacuum with rumor and counter rumor and theory and conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. So I don't know, but I mean, go on, Sam.
I don't think the head coaches has nailed on. I don't think the head coaches has nailed it on as we were initially led to believe in JP's article. I think just by Bloxham's statement, he said it was today really that it was confirmed about Darryl going. Effectively, he suspected he was going. He kind of knew he was, but it's only today that he received that confirmation. So if that's the case, I know we always say you should have a plan of a succession plan and stuff like that, but it can't possibly be nailed on that the new head coach has been approached and has agreed a deal and is ready to come in, ready to be announced alongside Gary. I just can't believe that. So I don't think that's as nailed on as we initially thought earlier in the day. Gary coming in as a director of football. I'm prepared to give. If he was coming in as a manager, then I think that you would see me in a meltdown. But as a director of football, I'm almost intrigued to see what he can do. Maybe I'm a sociopath or something. I don't know, but I'm just intrigued to see what he can bring. I'm just interested to see what happens.
It is something new, isn't it? And again, it's going to be new for him. I don't for 1 second think he's qualified for the role, and him going into a new role like that, you tend to see it go. I mean, at his previous club, Neil Warnock's gone in as has he gone as director of football at Torquay?
Football advisor.
He's advisor.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic how they've ended up with Warnock and we've got Johnson? You wouldn't have it any other way, would you? Let's be honest.
You see, the thing with Gary is, if it is to be Gary, if it is going to be Gary, is he going to be able to keep his, is he going to be able to let the head coach and keep his nose out? Is he going to be able to do that? Because somebody like him and the character that he is, that we know, is he going to be able to sit back and say, you're in charge? Okay, he can be there to advise, but how much does the advice, how far does that go? And I mean, Cal says there in that comment, I'd like to see a head coach who has no formal link to the club or Gary Johnson. See, I'm not sure that's, to my mind, the head coach is going to have some sort of link, I think, because they've got to be able to work together. And
so two names have already come out, Mark, haven't they? Naturally, there's no actual
obvious, aren't they? They're obvious.
I wouldn't think the club have actually formally started any process yet. I know JP says head coach set to be announced coming days, but of course they are. But judging by David Bloxham's interview, it didn't sound like much had been done yet. Now, whether if the new director of football coming in is going to be the one heading up that process in line with the board, and they'll do that together, which you would hope. That's kind of a director of football's job. Two names have been mentioned naturally with links. First one, Aaron Downs, because he went in temporary charge of Torquay following Gary Johnson's departure, which makes sense. They both worked together very closely before. Getting the band back together in 2015. Harry Powell's a free agent, by the way, everybody. Mo East is a free agent, by the way, everybody.
Billy Waters is a free agent. Nigel Lattingana's a free agent. Ben Tozer.
Alex Adai.
Can I just say, I muted the WhatsApp group earlier because of this absolute madness. Don't make me end the stream. Oh God.
But so Aaron Downs has been one who's mentioned, and some people are like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's quite a leap. We were laughing at we weren't laughing, but Adam Murray went down to that level to leave as assistant manager. Aaron Downs, I think that's quite a step up, considering we'd laugh off the fact now that some people would recommend Jerry Gill. I think Aaron Downs is quite a step
to
go straight into that. But it depends on the wage, and of course, where would we be without Gary and Pete Johnson? Why not get the whole Johnson clan together? Lee Johnson in the dugout. Lastly at Fleetwood. Those are the tenuous links which have obviously been married up. They are the obvious ones. One who is currently out of contract and unemployed, who I'd quite like to see, and I think we may have mentioned it on our chat, and it might have been said on Twitter, is Flynn, who was last at Swindon. I would really like to see him. I think he would be somebody we should be looking to go for, and you'd hope somebody would apply for the job.
I've always liked Michael Flynn. I remember when he was at Newport, he was doing well at Newport around here at the time that Duffo was manager here, and I always thought that if Duffo went, that's where I would go. He went to Walsall, didn't he? And then he went to Swindon and didn't have a good time at Swindon. But then, does anybody ever have a good time at Swindon? Let's absolutely face it. And every manager, practically every manager, has what you would call a failure. You're not gonna. I don't think there's any manager out there who could say that, apart from Pep, who or Klopp who could say that they're, you know, at our level, let's say, who is going to say that they're absolutely perfect and that they've never failed. So I think you can look around and, like, for example, you know, I've always been a fan of the Cowleys, but you could turn around and say they didn't do well at Huddersfield. So, you know, you look around, or Portsmouth. So you look around and there's always failures. But I've always liked Michael Flynn. I think he's one of those ones who I've sort of kept an eye on and thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind having you as our
Likes
manager.
the West Country.
Gary Bowyer is another one who sort of managed a lot of this sort of level. He's used to that sort of thing because he was at Salford, of course, with that bunch of lunatics. So he'll know everything about that sort of scenario. So there's a couple of there are some good experienced managers out there. It just depends, as you say, whether it's already a fait accompli, and we're going to see Lee Johnson in the dugout in a few weeks' time. But
yeah,
we wait and see on that one. But I'd like to see them cast the net a bit and have a look around and see what's there, because I do think we've still got a bit of time.
Yeah,
I think if you can, because the transfer window officially doesn't open until June the 14th. So, you know, and I know, and if Gary Johnson's the director of football and they're looking at players, they know what areas, for goodness sake. You just need to look at our squad list to work out. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know where we need to find players and what positions we need to look at. So, you know, defenders for starters, we've only got 2. So, you know, you could still be doing some of that work in the background, even though, you know, even while you're looking for a head coach.
Give me John Coleman, because he's very much the same mindset as me right now. I'm falling out of love with football.
Sorry, what would you rather be looking for? Because there's been discussions about what type of where people want to go for now, and we've mentioned about that stability which Daryl was giving us. If you were to go with somebody like Aaron Downs, you've got somebody who's quite young in the remit of their managerial career. But Gary Bowyer, on the other hand, or Michael Flynn have got years of experience at this level. Are you wanting us to go? You know, that term head coach is back in now, not manager, because we've got a director of football. Would you be looking for a young up and coming coach, or do you think we need to find an experienced manager to come in and steady the ship?
I think Flynn is the dream, almost. I think he's the one who makes sense for us. But if you're not going, I don't see Gary Bowyer or John Coleman coming down because they're based up north. I just don't see them moving down this way. John Coleman, I'll be surprised if he manages again, to be honest. So yeah, I don't see him going anyway. Probably back to turn in a couple of years.
I saw talk about him going to Morecambe the other day.
Yeah. So you know, the dream is a Michael Flynn, because you know what you're getting with a Michael Flynn. You see what he did at Newport, similar size club to us, and you want it. You can imagine him doing the same at Cheltenham. Downs is an interesting one. I get the point about how it's similar to Jerry Gill and all that. He's a lot younger than Jerry Gill, so he's been learning the ropes. The concern with Downs is he's been learning the ropes under Gary Johnson. So is he coming in because he's Johnson's mate? You know, and that's the concern with Downs to me. So I'm not worried about what type of coach comes in. Well, what is he? He's younger than me, so yeah. I mean, I'm still only 39. So yeah, he would be a young up and coach, you know. So
another thing is, would we pay a fee? Do you think?
He's 30. How old are you, Si? Because Downs is 39.
I'm 39. He was 39 in what, January, February, I think.
No, last week.
He's a few months younger than me.
He's 39 9 days ago.
In terms of his managerial career, he is up and coming.
Yeah, he hasn't managed. He has. He was what, the last 2 months at Torquay, if that.
Yeah.
You know, he's been the assistant at Torquay for a few years. So he's been learning the ropes. Yeah, all right, at a lower level. But if he comes in and does a job, do you care where he's come from? Look at Kieran McKenna at Ipswich. When he went to Ipswich, hardly anyone knew him. He was Man United's academy manager, or even academy coach. I'm not even sure he was the manager. So look at Mickey Duff. Mickey Duff is your case in point. He was Burnley under-21 manager. So I'm not bothered where they come from. I'm bothered about what they do when they get here. As long as it's the right appointment. As if they get on with Gary, great. If Gary is the director of football, if they get on with him and they get us playing winning football, I really don't care whether they're old, young. They could be 70 years old. They could be 12 years old. I really do.
That's the whole thing, isn't it? It's all about the results. If they get the results, you won't give a monkeys where they come from. Let's face it. But
Flynn is the one I would look at. I see Ben there saying, give me Flynn every day of the week. Flynn is the one. You look at him, and if you look at us and you look at Newport, we're very similar in size.
He fits the profile of
he does. Yeah, he does.
Sort of manager.
Will he work under Gary Johnson? That's the question.
Yeah, they've got to come in, haven't they? And you got to be a manager who's happy to do that, and that is actually another. Like, it could always be a hurdle for us. I think as a club, it's really important we've got a director of football because we've got that oversight from off the pitch. Looking at other things.
I'm just looking at Michael Flynn. I'm just looking at Michael Flynn here. He's 43 years old, so he's younger than Darryl Clark. He's younger than he's younger than me, but then everybody is. He's not younger than Si, so there we go. 40% win percentage at Newport in 250 games, 30% at Walsall in 68, 27% at Swindon in 33. Overall, 37% win ratio in 350 league games. So he's managed 350 league games at the age of 43. So, he's not exactly old. Behind him. So, and Jack that's a good point that Jack makes there in that comment. Johnson won't want a big personality in charge. And maybe,
of course he won't. No. I wonder why.
Maybe Michael Flynn is that big personality.
I wonder why that would be. Eh?
Is Flynn a big personality? Because I don't remember him shouting the odds in the papers very often.
And add to the point.
And so with him, of course, he had Lenny Lawrence helping him out a lot, didn't he? So he's had that. He's been used to having that sort of senior figure, shall we say, behind him. That wouldn't be a completely new thing to him.
And he worked under a sporting director at Newport as well, so he's used to that sort of setup, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of them, isn't it? It's head coach reporting to the director of football, aren't you?
Yeah, this is the thing. We're talking about it, and it makes so much sense. You just know
it's not going to happen.
I'm sorry.
Hang on. We wrote off appointing Darryl Clark for the very same reason.
I know we did. I know.
Not forget that.
It's when Gary Johnson isn't actually appointed as the director of football, and we've just spent the proportion of this pod talking about it.
God damn you, John Palmer!
Absolutely annihilated all of us just for the fun of it, because that's what we do. But it'd be interesting to watch, boys. I think, wouldn't it? And I don't think this is the end of it. We had it today, didn't we? I don't think today is where it stops. I think the next few days are going to be just absolute carnage.
I think the positive thing is, it is almost like we're starting a blank again. But what I do feel confident with, and I've been part of giving the board some flack since that forum. But actually, yes, we've lost the manager today, which none of us were really shocked about, of course, but it's disappointing. But, a few days ago, we've had a new commercial director appointed, which we haven't had since Richard Morris left the role. Tomorrow or in the coming days, we're potentially going to have a director of football, which we haven't had for the last year since Mickey Moore left. Sorry, I'm just laughing at comments and laughing at comments. And now we're going to have a head coach. There's potential that things are going to change, and we're going to have a little bit more. There's the word again, the P word. We're going to have a bit more of a plan. There's going to be a bit of organisation in the back room, which is positive given the uncertainty of what next season is going to bring. As Mark mentioned, if we get relegated, we lose our Football League status. Now, I don't want to be all the doom-monger with Mr. Positive in the room, but that, as we know, relegation, there's always that chance. We will discuss it in the coming weeks when we do appoint a new manager, and for them, they've got a blank slate. Now, they'll have a blank slate with not a lot of money to go and get people, but they'll have, and actually some good quality players in there. But it is worth mentioning, commercial director appointed, ex-Barnsley and Blackpool, which is good news. But also we've had more departures confirmed in Liam Sercombe, Southwood, which we kind of knew about, and club captain Sean Long. So you've got a captain to appoint, maybe within, or you've got a captain to recruit. So, Si, I know you were a big. I mean, I think we're all quite good advocates for Sean Long on this podcast. But Si, I know you had a fondness towards Longy. I guess we were all a bit surprised by that. I haven't been surprised by all the departures for the fact we're now a League Two club, not a League One club, and we really we're able to attract a bit better in a League One, but on the wages now, and Sean Long is a League One player, so is Liam Sercombe. Wasn't really too much of a shock that they decided to go elsewhere and seek pastures new.
No, Luke Gowan, we kind of knew. We knew that last season when he signed on, didn't we? Really, Cirques. I'm a little bit surprised by Cirques, actually. Only a little bit, but not overly. Longy hurts. That one really, really does hurt me. I forgot he's been here 6 years. I mean, that's more than halfway towards a testimonial. You don't get that anymore, do you? My son was devastated when I sent him the message the other day. He was at school, and he sent me back a long message saying, "No." I think he's a great bloke, and I think he's such an underrated player. He's been so good for us. When we offered the new deals, I said Cirques and Longy were the two that we needed to get over the line. And the fact that we haven't really, the fact that both have gone really hurts. But as you said, it's a clean slate. We start again. No player is irreplaceable. We start again in League Two, and whoever comes in has got an opportunity to start something good again.
Just to answer Jacko, by the way, on Sean North, he's the manager of Haventon Waterlooville. He was appointed this summer, having been kit man for the last few years. So I'm afraid we're not going to see Sean North returning. Martin Devaney was another one brought.
They were relegated when they haven't.
And same league as Gloucester next season. He's staying as. Martin Devaney's staying at Barnsley as Darrell's number 2, having just signed a new contract there. So we can't swap.
And he was in his picture earlier that they put on their social. Yeah,
sorry, talk about the players. Gutted about Liam Sercombe, one of my favourite players of all time for Cheltenham, especially in the Football League era. And Longy, steady, never lets down in my view. Never let us down. Nearly 200 games, 200 Football League games. And in my view, very rarely, if ever, let us down. So sorry to see them both go, but can understand it, to be honest with you. Luke Southwood never expected him to stay. I don't expect Will Ferry to stay either. I think there'll be clubs, he's a Northwest boy, isn't he? So I think probably quite a few clubs up in the Northwest might be having a sniff around. It doesn't look like George Lloyd's going to stay either. But so, yeah, as you say, absolute clean slate for whoever comes in. I think I'll make it something like 10 or 11. Is it? Let me just have a quick look at my list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 11 players. 11 players currently under contract with 2 more. Liggett and Wilcox, if they sign their contract, 2 more young boys. Of those 11, however, that does include people like, that does include Tom King, that doesn't include Max Harris. So, if you're talking like senior players, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you've got plenty to work with. Somebody's got plenty. They've got a little nucleus there, especially with people like Pet, Kinsella. I think you put
Taylor.
probably Bonds in there, Street in there, Taylor in there, and then Bradbury and Freestone. I think you've got a little nucleus, haven't you, of players there that you can add to. And it does give, because a lot of the time when managers come in, they're inheriting a complete squad and they can't do very much with it. It's not the case here, is it? Whoever does come in has got quite a bit of scope to do what they want to do.
Tom, I knew you said you were going to hop off in a sec, so I was going to ask. We mentioned about the Gary Johnson link and the contacts as well and experience. And I know we mentioned on this podcast, and straight away people go to ex-players. But there are a couple of free agents now in League Two who I mean, funny enough, were here. But I've got to mention it, because if I don't mention it, you never know. But you've got Harry Pell, who's a free agent, who we all know he spilt coffee on Gary Johnson's carpet back in 2015.
I love Pelly, but
yeah, no, I know. But also, you've also got a League Two.
It's the one place we don't actually need a player, to be fair. So.
Yeah. So, all right, Harry Pell aside, but Ben Tozer is a free agent and captain material.
Never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Well, considering he left there and trebled his money.
Yeah, I know that, but he's made his money. He's made his money. Now he's got another.
He's not going to get. Yeah, he's not going to get that deal anywhere else. He's not going to get that money anywhere else. Wherever he goes now, assuming he carries on playing, he's taking a massive pay cut wherever he goes.
Yeah,
and he can revive his role up front. Under Gary Johnson.
We need a striker, and we like throwing centre backs up top when we're in desperate need of a goal, rather than have an actual striker up top. I'm sorry, the bloke that did that's left. Anyway, this nonsense.
The bloke who did that's going to be our director of football, apparently.
Oh yeah, true, good point. Oh, it fits, doesn't it? It's also convenient. Now look, talk of ex-players. I don't want to hear it.
Every manager's done that. Every manager's done that.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't want to hear it. They're gone for a reason. They ain't coming back. Tozer's not coming back. Yes, he's had his money. He's had his trip to Hollywood and Vegas and all that, and he's lived his life. But it's over. It's done. New chapter. New manager coming in. Let's see what happens. I'm going to shoot, boys, before the wife kills me. Thanks for everybody watching, listening. Make sure you're obviously subscribing. Stick with us. Stick with the club. Exciting days coming. And I don't know what else to say, so I'm going to go, because this chat of ex-players has absolutely done my head in. I have had enough of that talk today. Chatham Town have absolutely turned me grey, more than I am already. Cheers, boys. See you later.
Cheers, Tom. Well, if I knew it was that easy to get rid of Tom, I would have mentioned Ben Tozer at the top. But,
oh yeah, we should have done it years ago.
I mean, I just
interesting as well. I think something else we need to mention. Something else we need to mention was mentioned in John Palmer's piece about going back to our where is it? Let me find the actual words that John used. Our model. Yes, here it is. But I think Daryl wanted to take it away.
He wanted experience, didn't he?
No, I want men. I don't want loans. I want men. That sort of thing. Signing. Look at the players he signed. 32-year-old Tom Pett, 33-year-old Matty Taylor. So 39-year-old Curtis. No, he didn't sign Curtis, but you know what I mean. So we're going to go. We're going back to our. That's what we're going. You're right, Si. That's in our financial plan. Sell a good player every year, as long as we do. As long as we do.
So it's a difficult one, and
wouldn't rule that out, Jack, as well.
And I do think I don't have a problem with us signing loan players, because actually, if they're right and if you do get them right, and I know that's a fine margin. We did have a couple of seasons where we did really well with the loans, but when you don't get the loans right, it really shows. But we've always. That is always the way we've had to operate, and there is good players there in the loan market. It didn't worry me slightly, but Daryl, as you mentioned, Daryl Clark really did want to move away from that, and I think that could have been a case of friction going forward if Daryl Clark had stayed. Because the director of football players, it wouldn't be, and it'd be looking towards the future with some players who would maybe stay for a couple of seasons and will make some money on, but if you're looking for a plan, that plan probably wouldn't have worked for Darryl Clark because he wanted to be the best. And I mean, as you mentioned at Barnsley already, he wants to be competing at the top end of leagues, and he needs those experienced players.
He wanted to sign proven quality. He wanted to sign proven quality rather than take gambles. I know he took a gamble on Joe Nuttall, didn't he? He said straight away he took a gamble on Joe Nuttall, but he didn't. I think you've got to look at it like that, and you've got to say, okay, well, we are the sort of club that needs to make money by improving players and selling them on. And Jacko, if that happens, I'll be the happiest man alive. By the way, that comment that you just put there.
If that happens, Gary Johnson is forgiven forever. I tell you. Yeah, that's what I've ever seen in a Cheltenham shirt, and I
absolutely I love that man, and I'd love to have him. Him. He's one ex. I know I'm not a great about ex players, but he is one. I'd have him back tomorrow. I'll tell you, because and Jacko's right about him needing to salvage his career because he's not played very much. He went to Belgium, didn't he? And is he at Rotherham now? I think
he went to Rotherham. Yeah,
he's at Rotherham last.
And it's interesting that their keeper's just gone to Stoke. So who knows? Anyway, we're getting miles ahead of ourselves. Can I just say one thing, by the way? If you're, everybody's going about the board. I think it's ever been as important as it is now to get onto that link and sign up for the Robins Trust.
Well, I'm just saying, I am absolutely blown away, but we've apparently got 1,400 people in here, which is absolutely.
Size put it there. There you go.
So,
absolutely
gents, I don't think we've got an awful lot to discuss now because I think we've kind of discussed it all in a good depth. I guess we'll probably finish off with.
I thought just in the automatics, weren't they, at the time? We were better.
Buckingham's first game, wasn't it?
That day.
Buckingham's first
and at that point, yeah, well, Buckingham's first game it was, yeah. And I remember thinking that day, play like this for the rest of the season. We didn't play like that for the rest of the season, but we had as we were robbed. We were brilliant that day. Probably should have got a lead draw. Bolton as well. I know I said he failed, and he did fail. But like I said, by his own admission, he would say
by his own admission.
By his own admission. But he did give us hope when, let's be honest, after 11 games, there were only one or two of us who thought we might still survive.
No hope or Bob hope, as they say. I think what I liked most about him was his honesty and his forthrightness and how I don't think there was a game where I listened to his interview after a game and I didn't think, it's very easy. A lot of managers, you listen to the interview after the game, you think, well, he's watched a different game to me. And I don't think there were many games where, if any, when he was manager, I don't think there was any, that if I listened to an interview afterwards and I thought, yeah, you've watched the same game as me. Like, Wimbledon away.
No dressing it up.
No. Wimbledon away, we were dreadful. And he came out and bang, that was abysmal, blah, 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 blah. Just, and after games that we'd lost and we hadn't played very well, things like Northampton away on New Year's Day, like we went there and we were pretty poor. We didn't really take the opportunity when it came along, and he was as angry as I was, and that's what I liked about it. But when we lost the game, and I've interviewed every single Cheltenham manager that's been in the Football League, and many of them after a game, if we've lost, haven't been as angry as me. And I hope that in the future every manager's like that. And if we get a new manager, I hope that new manager's like that as well. as Darren's just put something on the comment there. That's why the supporters were drawn in, because of his honesty. He saw what we saw, and that's exactly it. That's exactly the way it is. That is exactly it, and that's what I really liked about Daryl, because I thought he was honest, and I thought I can trust this bloke. I thought I can trust this bloke with my football club.
Yeah,
and that's what I really liked about him.
Just to finish off on my point, my point was about his brutal honesty, which I really liked. One of the highlights for me was Fleetwood away, just because that gave us hope. And I think actually what Daryl Clark gave us constantly was hope. The moment he stepped foot through the door, which was brilliant, and that brutal honesty straight away. And yes, we could complain about it at times, and that all he did was complain about the training ground and that, but he wanted to up the standards. And I think maybe to finish on that and up in the standards, somebody. I don't feel like he wouldn't always call it out, but also somebody wasn't afraid to say how he felt, maybe, or wasn't really too afraid to be quite honest, even with the journalists. I remember a few times is the person who's about to be our new director of football. And I know Gary Johnson won't be I know he won't be in front of the camera a lot, but he
had many spars with Gary.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's probably positive that he will probably try and up the standards too. So
well, you hope so.
You really do hope so. And we've got to. I've seen many people come out and say, "Oh, this with the board. I'm not renewing my season ticket. And actually, one of the things Robin's Trust said is don't endorse that. Like, this is still our club.
No.
The club does need, regardless of what you think of the board, the club needs you now more than ever. And this is a complete new era we're about to go into, and we cannot be sucked down into the doldrums of the lower echelons of this league and being, because we'll be unstable and there won't be a football club. You'll have a semi-professional football club if we go down again. I'm not scared to come out and say that, because as we've said about the losses we've had on the past 2 seasons.
And you go back to Gary Johnson, and you have to say, if it wasn't for Gary Johnson, we could have had a semi-professional.
We wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah,
because if we hadn't gone up in 2015-16, this club would have gone part-time in 2016-17 if they hadn't got back up into the Football League that time. This club has always succeeded. This club has always been defined by its manager. Some clubs are defined by their chairman, by their owner, by whatever. This club has always been defined by its manager. You look at our successful managers, they've been strong managers. Steve Cottrell, John Ward, Gary Johnson, Michael Duff, Daryl Clark. Driven people. That's what we need. We need somebody like that in charge again. We need somebody who's driven, somebody who's almost single-minded in what they really want. And I'm going to just finish this little bit by saying, Kyle, your comment is spot on. Hopefully, people can spell the new manager's name right.
Oh my God, Joe will be flipping now. Joe will be absolutely flipping now.
We've got to end on a bit of a positive, and do you know what? I didn't think I was going to. We somehow find ways to spin it on a positive, and Si, maybe you're the reason for that. But we can't do anything about it.
I find myself defending Lee Johnson today. By the way,
yeah.
I mean, of all the people. But what did you say Michael Flynn's win percentage was? About 37%. Yeah,
37. Yeah,
Lee Johnson's is better. It's better than that.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
I'd like to see his win percentage at Fleetwood, but hey ho.
Or Hibs.
Yeah, exactly. But gents, thanks for coming on tonight. Thank you if you stayed listening, because before we got our normal time on a pod, emergency pod as well, short notice. I still can't get over the number, and for some reason it still keeps going up. I do know there's a lot of bots on Twitter, so I don't know whether we've got 1,500 bots watching our stream.
Well,
but I mean,
Kieran,
this is
just Kieran's comment here. People care about this club, Okay, the pod, maybe, but people. That's the line. People care about this club. You know, this is our
And we
football
wouldn't turn
club.
it into a positive
You know,
if we didn't
I've been
think
watching this club. I've been watching this club for 40 years. Si's been watching it for 20. Owen, you've been watching it for what, 10, 15
30.
years? Sorry, Si, 30. I'll do you down. You know, we all care about this football club. Everybody watching this, you know, I mean, you're not going to spend an hour and 20 minutes listening to us three idiots or us four idiots talking about this football club if you didn't give a toss about it. Let's be absolutely honest about it, are you? You know, we need to stick behind it. We've got to stick behind the football club. You know, yes, okay, we can moan about the board, and you know, a lot of that is justified at the moment. I'm afraid they need to be better. Everything needs to be better, but people need to get behind our football club. Yes, Darren, we love the club, and you're right. You're absolutely right. We do. We all love this football club, and you know, that's why we spend our hard-earned money traveling all around the country to watch them play every week. And you know, well, you know, what was that song that was playing behind Rishi Sunak the other day? Things can only get better. There you go. And by the way, Robin's Trust.
That song's 30 years old, by the way.
Right. Si, thanks very much for joining us. And Mark, thanks for joining us too. It's been a pleasure. It's been a sanity check, as we say. It's been like therapy. I'm glad we can be your therapy. It's therapeutic for us too. So
go and buy your season tickets if you haven't done so already. Go and get them.
Season tickets. Sign up to Robin's Trust. We'll be back hopefully. I reckon maybe in a week or so, because I would hope. Well, the director of football will be in, and the new manager will be in. You would hope, so we can discuss that. But if you want to hear us talk about anything else you want us to discuss, thanks for joining us today. And as always, up the town.